I have felt the presence of my mum more so in the last 2 years than I have in the last 30. I'm not angry anymore. There are things that will still anger me, but I'm not angry anymore because I am exactly where I'm supposed to be.
You know Prince Harry. You know the scandals, the fallouts, the dramatic royal exit. But what if buried underneath all of that was a story so sensitive the royal family went to extraordinary lengths to hide it? We're talking about a sister, one whose existence, some claim, has been carefully kept out of the headlines. Does Prince Harry have a secret sister? Stay with me, because this one will shake everything you thought you knew. So who is Prince Harry really? So why does the idea of a hidden sister even feel possible? Harry's world. Before we get into the sister story, let's quickly set the stage, because context is everything here. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, is arguably the most talked about royal of his generation, and that is saying something, given that his family practically invented public drama. From his wild younger years to his absolutely jaw-dropping memoir, Spare. From falling in love with American actress Meghan Markle to stepping back from royal duties in 2020 and relocating to California, Harry has never been far from the center of global conversation. And yet, despite living one of the most publicly documented lives on the planet, Harry has always maintained that there are parts of his story the world simply doesn't know. Things that happened behind the gilded doors of Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace. Things that Spare only scratched the surface of. He's spoken about the loneliness of royal life, the grief of losing his mother, the late Princess Diana, at just 12 years old, and feeling like an outsider within his own family, like a spare, hence the title of his book. And here's what makes Harry so compelling as a subject. Unlike virtually every other senior royal before him, he has actually tried to tell his story. He didn't just quietly retire to the countryside, he went on Oprah. He sat down with journalist Tom Bradby for a raw, unfiltered ITV documentary. He released a Netflix series that pulled back the velvet curtain on what royal life actually looked like from the inside. He wrote a memoir that named names, described arguments in forensic detail, and broke every unwritten rule the palace had spent centuries enforcing. And still, people feel like there's more, like Harry is sitting on something bigger, like the full story hasn't been told yet. That feeling, that instinct, it is exactly the fuel that has kept one particular rumor alive for years, simmering just below the surface of every royal headline, every documentary, every breathless YouTube deep dive. But what he has never directly addressed, at least not in any verified public statement, is the rumor that has followed him like a shadow for years, the rumor of the sister. And that, my friends, is exactly where this story gets interesting. So where did this secret sister rumor actually begin? And how did it grow legs strong enough to survive for years? Where did it all start? Now, before we go any further, we need to be crystal clear about something. This is a story built in layers, and those layers include real facts, long-standing tabloid speculation, viral YouTube claims, and at least one genuinely bizarre conspiracy theory involving embryos, a rogue doctor, and a secret baby. Yes, you heard that right. We'll get there. So let's start at the very beginning. The secret sister narrative has been circulating online for years. It comes in a few different flavors, depending on which corner of the internet you find yourself in. The first version is the most grounded, and honestly, the most interesting, because it's based on real people and real relationships. And that version centers on a woman named Laura Lopes. Now here's the thing. Most casual royal watchers have never heard of Laura Lopes, and that is by design. Laura is the daughter of Queen Camilla, formerly Camilla Parker Bowles, from her first marriage to British Army officer Andrew Parker Bowles, which means that when King Charles III married Camilla in 2005, Laura became the stepsister of both Prince William and Prince Harry. Harry and William have a stepsister, an art curator who co-founded a London gallery and lives privately with her family. And here is the wildest part. Laura Lopes was a bridesmaid at Prince William and Kate Middleton's royal wedding in 2011. The whole world was watching that wedding. 1 billion people tuned in. And yet, somehow, most people had no idea that the little girl walking down the aisle was the granddaughter of the woman who married the future king, or that she was, by extension, the niece of Prince Harry. The royal family didn't hide Laura exactly, but they certainly didn't advertise her either. Camilla made a deliberate choice to shield her children from the worst of the royal spotlight, and Laura has largely embraced that decision, living what most observers describe as a refreshingly normal life by royal-adjacent standards. But that low-key existence is precisely the kind of thing that feeds rumors, and it did. But if Laura Lopes has been in plain sight all along, why does her existence still feel like something most people somehow missed? The complicated family dynamic. Now here's where the story gets really layered, because the relationship between Harry, William, and Laura was never simple. Think about it from their perspective for a moment. Harry and William were still grieving their mother when their father chose to make official the relationship that, by many accounts, had contributed to the breakdown of their parents' marriage. And Laura, on the other side, was dealing with her own mother, suddenly being thrust into the most scrutinized role in Britain. It was messy. And according to royal writer Katie Nicole, in her 2010 book William and Harry, the early dynamic between the brothers and their new stepsister was tense, to put it lightly. Nicole describes episodes where William, raw with grief over his mother Diana, would clash directly with Laura over who was to blame for their broken families. And Laura, fiercely protective of her own mother, would fire back just as hard. By all accounts, it took years for any real warmth to develop, but develop it did. Particularly after the arrival of baby Archie in 2019, there were reports, granted through unnamed palace insiders, that Harry, William, and Laura were making a genuine effort to strengthen their bond, to build the kind of family connection that had always been complicated by history. Royal commentators have pointed out that Camilla's children, Laura and her brother Tom Parker Bowles, were remarkable in how they handled the extraordinary pressure of their mother's relationship with Charles. Tom famously went on to carve out a career as a food writer and TV personality. Laura chose near total privacy. Two entirely different survival strategies, both entirely understandable. What's significant for our story is that Laura's chosen invisibility has never fully registered with the general public. She is, in every meaningful sense, a member of the extended royal family, but she has been written out of the popular understanding of who that family is and who it includes. Whether that closeness ever truly materialized, especially given the enormous tension that came later between Harry and the rest of the family, is something we simply cannot know for certain. But what we do know is this: there is a real woman with a real relationship to Prince Harry, who exists entirely outside the frame of the story most people have been told about the royals. And that gap between what people know and what is real is exactly where rumors take root and grow. And if the real story is already complicated, what happens when the internet decides to make it even more dramatic? The conspiracy layer. All right, we've covered the grounded version of the story. Now let's talk about the version that has genuinely, spectacularly gone off the rails. Because if we're being honest, this is the version that has driven the most clicks, the most YouTube views, and the most late-night wait, what moments. Some corners of the internet don't stop at Laura Lopes. They go somewhere far, far darker. The wilder version of the Secret Sister story claims that Prince Charles and Princess Diana had embryos created secretly during fertility testing before or around the time of their engagement in the early 80s. And the claim goes further, that one of those embryos was allegedly taken by a rogue doctor, implanted into the doctor's wife without her knowledge, and resulted in a baby girl, a biological daughter of Charles and Diana, born in secret in October 1981. The girl in this story has been given the name Sarah, And the conspiracy gets stranger still. As Sarah grew up, people around her reportedly noted that she was a striking, almost uncanny resemblance to Princess Diana. When Sarah's parents died in a car accident in her late 20s, she began to piece together the truth about her origins, and the trail led her, impossibly, to the House of Windsor. Now, let's be absolutely clear here. This story originates from a work of fiction, a novel called The Disappearance of Olivia, written by Diana fan Nancy E. Ryan. Ryan was inspired by her admiration for the late princess and wrote a fictional account exploring the idea of a secret royal child. But after the book was published in 2011, sections of the media and corners of the internet ran with the story as if it were fact. The line between fiction and reality blurred, and it's been blurry ever since. There is no credible evidence or verified record of any Sarah. But does that stop people from believing it? Absolutely not. And honestly, when you understand how little trust many people have in institutions like the British royal family, an institution with its own long and documented history of cover-ups, secrets, and carefully managed narratives, it's not entirely hard to understand why a story like this finds an audience. Let's be real for a moment. This is a family that spent decades denying the existence of Charles and Camilla's affair while it was an open secret among the British aristocracy. So when people hear a story about a secret baby, a hidden daughter, a biological sibling kept from public view to protect the crown's image, they don't think that's impossible. They think, well, with this family, who even knows? And that is not nothing. That is a trust deficit built over generations. And conspiracy theories grow in exactly that kind of soil. The Sarah story is fiction, but the impulse behind believing it is a completely rational response to a very real institutional history of selective truth-telling. But in a family long shadowed by secrecy, even fiction can start to feel plausible. The truth about privacy and family. While Harry has never directly addressed a secret sister, he has spoken extensively in Spare, in interviews, in his Netflix series Harry and Meghan, about the experience of having parts of his family story hidden, managed, or misrepresented. He has spoken about growing up feeling like there was a public version of the royal family and a private version, and how rarely those two versions matched. He has spoken about the suffocating pressure of the institution, the way the palace managed information, and the way members of his own family were kept at arm's length or obscured from public understanding to protect the monarchy's image. In that context, the secret sister question, even if the dramatic versions of it are exaggerated, actually touches on something Harry has been trying to say for years. He left the royal family in part because he felt the system was built on secrets, the management of truth, and protecting the crown at the expense of the people inside it. He wrote Spare because he wanted to put his version of events on record. He moved to California, lost his security detail, fought a legal battle in British courts over his right to protection, all because he refuses to simply accept the narrative the institution wants to project. And what he revealed in Spare was striking, not because of any single explosive confession, but because of the sheer accumulation of detail. From family conflicts to deeply personal revelations about grief and mental health, Harry painted a picture of an institution built on control rather than openness. But every single one of them reinforced the same central argument. This family keeps things hidden, not out of malice necessarily, but out of a deep institutional reflex towards self-preservation. The crown above all, the image above everything. And that is the context in which the secret sister question deserves to be understood, not as a literal claim Harry has made, he hasn't, but as a symptom of the wider, entirely justified sense that the world has never been given the complete picture of what life inside this family actually looks like. So when people ask whether Harry is hiding a sister, whether there's someone being kept out of the story, Harry himself might actually say, that's exactly the kind of question the royal family doesn't want you asking. Not because the specific conspiracy is true, but because the instinct behind it, the sense that what you see is not the whole picture, is something he has lived and breathed his entire life. So if there's no hidden biological sister, who is the real overlooked figure in Harry's family story? The real sister in Harry's story. So where does that leave us with Laura? Laura Lopes, Harry's real actual stepsister, continues to live her life largely outside the royal circus. She tends to her art gallery. She raises her 3 children. She attends select royal events. She was seen at Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2018, but she has never given a major interview, never written a book, never sought the spotlight. In many ways, she represents what might have been possible for Harry and Meghan, a quieter kind of royal-adjacent life, present enough to be family, distant enough to have breathing room. Whether Harry and Laura have a warm relationship today, given everything that has happened with the broader family estrangement, is unknown. Harry and William are reportedly still not on speaking terms as of late 2025, a rift that royal experts describe as deep and unlikely to heal quickly. Harry's relationship with King Charles has shown small signs of thawing. There is reportedly a behind-the-scenes effort being called Project Thaw, but the overall picture remains one of distance and unresolved tension. Laura sits somewhere in that complicated web, a real person with a real connection to Harry, navigating a family story that has become one of the most publicly scrutinized sagas of the 21st century. And here's what strikes me most about Laura's story, and why I think it matters beyond the gossip. She chose quiet. In a family where everyone eventually gets consumed by the machine, where the press camped outside Diana's apartment building before she was even engaged, where even Kate Middleton had her private photos splashed across tabloids before her wedding, Laura Lopes chose a life that the cameras couldn't easily reach. She built a business and a normal life away from the spotlight. Harry tried to do something similar, in his own much louder way. He didn't want to disappear. He wanted to redefine what his public role looked like, on his own terms. The difference is that Laura had the option of true anonymity. Harry never did. From the moment he was born second in line to the throne, his life belonged in some sense to the public, and no amount of California sunshine has fully changed that. So when you look at these two people, Laura, the stepsister most people have never heard of, and Harry, the prince the whole world can't stop talking about, you see two very different attempts to answer the same question. How do you survive being connected to this family? One retreated, one detonated. And both choices make complete sense when you understand what they were both running from. After all the rumors, conspiracies, and unanswered questions, what's the truth we're actually left with? So let's bring it all home. Does Prince Harry have a secret sister? The answer is nuanced and more interesting than any conspiracy. He has a stepsister named Laura Lopes, who is real, documented, and has been part of his extended family since 2005. She is not a secret, but she has been so effectively kept out of the mainstream royal narrative that most people have genuinely never heard of her. And that invisibility, in its own way, tells you everything about how the royal family manages information. The more dramatic versions of the story, the embryo conspiracy, the secret biological daughter named Sarah, the mysterious hidden sibling, are not supported by any credible evidence. They originated in fiction, migrated into tabloid speculation, and have found a second life in the clickbait economy of royal YouTube. But here's what is undeniably, powerfully true. Prince Harry has spent years telling the world that the version of the royal family the public was sold was incomplete. He has fought, at significant personal cost, to fill in the gaps, to add texture and honesty to a story that was always more complicated than the palace-approved version. And in that sense, the obsession with royal secrets, with sisters in the shadows, with stories that don't add up, with the feeling that something is always being hidden, is not irrational. It is a completely logical response to decades of an institution that perfected the art of the managed narrative. Harry didn't create that distrust. He just refused to pretend it wasn't there. So the next time you find yourself 3 videos deep into a royal rabbit hole at 2 in the morning, wondering what else isn't being said. Just remember, sometimes the real story isn't as dramatic as the thumbnail, but sometimes it's actually more interesting. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. Drop a comment below. Did you know about Laura Lopes before today? And do you think Harry will ever give us the full, unfiltered truth about his family? I genuinely want to know what you think. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a royal drop. We'll see you in the next one.